Have we really botched up our response to the pandemic? How should any government react to a pandemic? What is the ideal pandemic response? Let's discuss. Hello everyone, welcome to Right Views. I'm Rahul. In the recent blog post, we have discussed a three-step pandemic response process. Now, in the first step of this process, we develop what is called the pandemic infrastructure. Now, pandemic infrastructure is not simply hospital beds, it is much more than that. It is a lot of infrastructure that needs to go into supporting every bed that you have put up, that requires oxygen, that requires medicine, that requires transportation for the doctors, that requires more nursing and support, medical support staff, which can keep rotating in shifts to address these higher number of patients that are infected. We also need lots of other equipment like PPE, we need disposable gloves, we need syringes, we need clipboards to monitor what are these people, what is their information, what is their name, what kind of allergies they have. All this information needs to go into a computer. That computer system also needs to be scaled up. This all information and data have to be monitored. Has this patient received whatever medicine he was supposed to receive at the morning? Has this fellow got his afternoon dose? Has he received lunch? Has he received appropriate food? Suppose he has peanut allergy. Has he received a peanut, in his vegetables? So all these is part of the infrastructure. This also includes transportation. Patients need to come to the hospital. They need to go away from the hospital. The people who care for these patients, their relatives who are not infected, they need to have some mechanism of communication. Doctors need to come. The families of doctors or the people who are supporting the doctor, they need to come. All this has to be organized in a proper way. This is the pandemic infrastructure which is required. Now, pandemic infrastructure, like you can imagine, is not always available. It is an infrastructure which is scaled up when there is a pandemic, because there is not a pandemic all the time. So when the pandemic strikes, our administration gets into gear and starts expanding and scaling up this kind of infrastructure to accommodate those who are infected by the pandemic. So this is the first step of pandemic response, to get the pandemic infrastructure in place. The second step of pandemic response is to understand what is the remedy, what is the medicine that will treat this disease. Now, in case of viral pandemics, the viral fevers, the viral infections, there is actually no particular medicine to kill the virus. What we have is a medicine to ease our symptoms. So, in case of common flu or common cold, we don't really address the virus. What we address is that the runny nose, that we address. We address the fever. We try to boost our immune system so that it can fight the virus. That's all we do. So even in COVID, our body is the one which has to fight the virus. And to understand it and identify that virus, we need to get the body to recognize it. And that is the job of the vaccine. So vaccine is not a medicine or a remedy for this pandemic, COVID particularly. Vaccine is a preventive step. So what we are talking about is remedy. Now this remedy is basically to alleviate the symptoms. So whatever is clogging up the lungs, whatever is creating lung infection, if we can remove that lung infection, the virus might still be active in the body, but if you can help him breathe, help the patient breathe easier, he can tolerate the fever better. Those are kinds of the medicines that may be required in this phase. In other pandemics, you may actually have a remedy. In many cases, like for example malaria, if there is an outbreak of malaria, not a pandemic but an outbreak, let's assume it's in a very large scale, you still have medicines for malaria. So you can use those medicines, you can stock up those medicines, but in a new pandemic, in a new disease, you have to develop these and get them ready. The third step of pandemic response is basically establishing protocols. Establishing and communicating these protocols. Now, what are these protocols? Protocols is basically a standard operating procedure of how to deal with a patient. So these can be treatment protocols. So when the patient is come in, how to treat the patient. Then the protocols of the medical professionals to protect themselves. These are preventive protocols. Now, for a medical professional, you need PPE, you need this, that, you need gloves, maybe you need 2 gloves, maybe you need extra sanitization, you need disinfection, maybe you need a mask, full face cover. All those things are explained in these protocols based on the understanding of this disease, understanding of this virus, or understanding of the germ that is causing the pandemic. These protocols are then communicated to everyone, including the doctors, including the healthcare officials, including the ambulance driver. Ambulance drivers also have a protocol. How should they be dressed? How should they be protected? How should they work? How many hours can they be exposed to a certain kind of pathogen? All those things are determined based on the nature of the germ or the virus or the bacteria that is causing this pandemic. Now, there are other kinds of protocols which are called preventive protocols, which are for public. Like in our case, in COVID's case, the preventive protocol for public is basically masks, sanitizers, and social distancing. These are the 3-step protocol for us to prevent getting this pandemic. Then there will be protocols for incoming travelers. There will be protocols for incoming goods at shipping ports. And these protocols need to be established. They need to be communicated to the police, to the collector's office, to the administrative departments. And all these have to put in place and communicated to the relevant people so that they are acted upon. And then you have to test the compliance also, whether there is any breach, and you have to address those. Now, this part typically is dependent on the nature of your understanding of the virus. So if you have, let's say like we have now, in the first wave we have a different kind of a variant, and the second wave we have more virulent variant. How do you deal with that? So this kind of differences have to be accommodated within the protocols, and these protocols have to be shared. So this is the third aspect of this pandemic response. Now, once you realize that these 3 steps are quite tedious and quite elaborate, you realize that this will take time. And in a pandemic, time is short. We are basically having 2 speeds: the speed at which the pandemic is progressing and the speed at which these 3 steps can be put in place. The speed at which this pandemic response will take place is definitely going to be slower than the pandemic. So you need to create that balance. For that we have lockdowns. Now that is the particular reason for lockdown. Now lockdown doesn't mean lockdown and sit tight. No, lockdown and build the infrastructure. That is the objective of the lockdown. So lockdown is to basically, it's like a cricket match. Your asking run rate is basically the spread of the virus, and your batting average is basically, your run rate is basically the speed at which you are putting up infrastructure. If your infrastructure is low, you can restrict this and hit your infrastructure a little faster. The same process can be understood as opening up. If you have, let's say, an infrastructure that can support 10,000 new infections per day, then you can open, let's say, 10%, assume. If your infrastructure can handle 50,000, now you can open 20 or 25%. Now imagine when you from 10%, if you double the opening, the cases will not double, they might triple, because virus is like multiplicative. Okay, so one person will infect 2 people. In 4 steps you will find that there is a tremendous amount of infection spread. So that is the important reason to understand that you can open up only based on the level of preparedness that you have on your infrastructure. You can't blindly set out opening up targets without having the oxygen, the medicines, the people, nursing staff, ambulance drivers, all sorts of things in place before you open up. Anyone who has studied Spanish flu knows that there will be a second wave. And if you have studied Spanish flu, in Spanish flu of 1918, the second wave was more lethal than the first wave. So ideally, based on simple history, you would be doubly prepared for a second wave than the first wave. Clearly, we have missed that understanding totally. Now, what we need to understand is that there will be a third wave. In Spanish flu, it was benign. It was a very damp third wave. Did not hurt many people. Many people had already died in the second wave. So that was also one reason. There will be a third wave and there will be spike. To what extent we don't know. Maybe virus will mutate into a gentler form, an easier virus. Now there is an interest for the virus to mutate into a form which is non-lethal, because let's imagine if one virus enters your body and it can kill you immediately, then the virus cannot actually procreate and spread, because it comes to one person, the person dies and the game is over. The virus cannot move from there on. Now the question really therefore is, the virus, if it is non-lethal like common flu, it will spread to every person in this whole world. So imagine how much virus spread will be. But because it is non-lethal, nobody will bother about it too much. That is the advantage, and that's when natural selection eventually turns out into a small benign mutation. That is what people believe. Now, that might happen in the third wave, that might happen in the fourth wave. We don't know. So it's very important that we plan and prepare for the third wave as well. And we ensure that we are not slackening on our prevention protocols, which is masks, sanitizers and social distancing, even as the cases reduce. So this is sort of a template for pandemic response. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, follow us on our social media pages, join us for a long form discussion on our podcast, and thank you for listening.